Ooh, what did we just watch? Hey, what did we just watch?
That's not the name of our podcast.
Could be.
No.
If you wanted it to.
This is not a trivia show. That would be if this was like making
the
people
trivia
guess.
show.
Like maybe we're describing a movie and then people are just yelling at their radios what they think the movie is. Because the podcast, you can't really interact. So they would really just be yelling
People are
at us.
interacting.
And we can't hear you.
I see you, person slicing oranges. I don't know. I'm trying to picture what people are doing when they listen to us.
I see you drinking coffee on your way to work.
Yeah, I see you.
I see you.
With you haven't put your pants on. You're in your underwear.
Is this what we think people are doing when they're listening to us?
Yeah, maybe they just put their shirt on.
This
and
all sounds
let me
like-
listen to this while I put on my pants.
Or maybe they're listening when they're doing the dishes.
That's true.
Like I do. I listen to the office ladies sometimes when I do dishes
You
or
do.
make pancakes on Saturday morning.
Or you're working like I do and listening to podcasts.
Yeah. So, however you're listening, this isn't that podcast because
There's
you don't
a
have to
podcast
yell
called
answers.
However you're listening.
No, you don't have to yell answers at your iPhone because we're just going to tell you that, hey, we just saw a movie.
We did. We saw a movie, singular.
Yeah. And by the way, because we forget to do this sometimes, I'm Michelle.
I'm Josh. I thought you were going to promote the podcast.
No, we just said the name of the podcast.
But I thought you were going to say, like, subscribe on all the
Oh,
subscribees.
no, we do that at the end.
Oh, well, I already said it.
Okay, well, if you don't make it to the end of this episode for some reason,
Yeah. If you feel like ending it all.
then go ahead and subscribe. And maybe you'll like the next episode better. Or listen to previous episodes.
Or come back and finish it. I know there's
Yeah.
a lot of WTFs I haven't finished.
I often leave my podcast paused for days at a time. I think I'm in the middle of an episode. I forgot the name of it already.
It's hard because once you get out of the car or once you get done washing dishes or whatever,
Or working out.
or yeah, now that you have,
Now that I have a row
A
machine,
row
are you
machine.
making fun of me?
yeah,
Don't
I am.
make fun.
I'm all fun.
I'm trying to.
So all that stuff you guys do
stuff.
we're right there with you. Just not when you're taking a dump. We don't want to smell that.
No, but okay. So we did just see a movie.
Yeah,
What did we see?
we saw. Is it? I thought about ending it all.
No, give it another try.
I think I thought a putty tat.
No,
About it
you're
all.
sort of near the right words.
I never actually.
can't look
I
it
thought
up.
I knew the name.
I know
I'm
you're
not-
looking for
I'm
your
not
notes.
looking it up.
Oh, okay.
I don't have notes. This is all the top of my
We've
head.
already done this. They know we take notes.
Who's they?
The people that we were just talking about.
Oh, they're real.
What did we watch, Joshua?
I don't know the name of it.
Oh,
I just
man.
guessed like 9 times. and
All
you
right,
said
we
they were all
watched.
wrong.
I'm thinking of ending things.
Oh, ending things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Does that change
That
the whole
changed-
perspective of the movie for you?
that definitely changed the beginning because I thought, this is a movie about suicide or something.
I thought it was too, just based on that title. But then, and for actually a lot of the movie, I thought that it was talking about suicide. And then I thought, wait a minute. I don't think that's what she's talking about.
So usually we talk about ourselves at the beginning, but this one was so weird. We just need to talk about the movie and then we'll talk about ourselves.
Yeah, we're just going to jump right in, you guys. I hope that's okay.
So I don't know if you did this. I just started I usually just write thoughts as the movie goes on and then I order them into coherent thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie was incoherent. So I really want to just go thought by thought of what I was thinking was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this movie, there's 2 things I think about this movie. This movie was like a magic trick where you're like, oh, he's just, wait, no, okay, I get it now. But now there's an alligator. Okay, well, now he's in ice, so he can't really get the keys out of the fire. So you're just confused. The
Yeah.
other thing I thought it was a turducken of the Lobster, the Lighthouse, and the Twilight
Ooh.
Zone.
All right.
But to notice, you looked into this hole, and you were like, "That's weird." And then as you moved out of the hole, you realized you were looking into the butt of the turducken. And you're like, "I'm very confused now."
That explanation very confused me. So
And that's how I
we're
felt.
all on the same page. Can I read the IMDb synopsis?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So IMDb says, let me make sure I'm on the right page.
Yeah. Don't be like,
Okay,
Elle Woods goes
So
to...
obviously you guys know this by now, but spoiler alert, this whole podcast is spoiler alert. So we watched I'm Thinking of Anything on Netflix, which just came out recently. And here's the synopsis from IMDb, because that's where I read these from.
IMDb now.
Yeah. Full of misgivings, a young woman travels with her new boyfriend to his parents' secluded farm. Upon arriving, she comes to question everything she thought she knew about him and herself.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't
You
know.
want to say that.
Right? I don't even know if I could. I don't know that. Okay, so the young woman, I think she was even she didn't even have enough thought to question what she knows. Right? Like she was just as like bewildered. But I wouldn't say that she came to question everything she knows.
I don't think she questioned much of anything.
I think her brain was scrambled and she didn't really know that she should question things.
I think she explained herself very well at the end of the movie where they talk about "Baby, It's Cold Outside" and coercion, and how and then when he left, she said, you know, he comes up to me and asks for my number, and I say yes, and then he asks me another thing, and I say yes, and then I just keep saying yes to stuff that I don't want to do.
There was a lot of little things like this. I did not pick up on that
and
one.
And it's just kind of like she just kept saying yes to all these things that she could have just said, "Nah, I don't want to do that." So, like, for example, so the movie starts out and sort of.
Wait, real quick. Can we tell people what we're going to do with this episode?
What are we going to do?
Okay, so for the first half, what we're doing is we're just telling you what we think we watched. We don't really know.
Yeah.
We don't really, clearly already you can tell we were a little confused by what happened in this movie. And then we're going to take a break. We're going to go do some research and read the, this movie explained articles or videos or whatever, and have some smart people tell us what the heck we just watched. And then we'll come back and talk about that.
Maybe the new rock stars talked about it.
Maybe.
Probably not. They're into Thanos.
Okay, so sorry. Continue.
So essentially it starts out with her and her boyfriend getting in the car and driving to meet his parents. But immediately she has, as it says, misgivings about, not Robin Givens, not Miss Givens, but Miss Givens.
Or Mrs. Givens.
Well, now she's Miss Givens. I don't think she's remarried. So she doesn't even want to be in this relationship, and she's thinking way too much in her head, probably much like I do. But yeah, so I think that whole thing was kind of like I was saying, is she could have said no way sooner than she did. And then the biggest thing was it was literally "Baby, It's Cold Outside." In a way, because she shouldn't even gone because she had to be up. She had to finish writing something. What did she
was very stressed out the whole time because she needed to be home that same night because she needed to work on some project the next morning.
Right.
She needed to work.
And I don't know, maybe they live in the Dakotas and they're used to this, but if there's a snowstorm happening
Oklahoma.
and you're going to drive, okay, definitely not Oklahoma, because they get snow, but not a lot. And yeah.
But he had chains.
He had chains
for the tires. Maybe people in Oklahoma, different parts of Oklahoma,
definitely the Panhandle. Chains. They better have chains.
Yeah.
But still,
2 chains.
2 chains. So even still, if you have something you got to do in the morning and it's snowing, not like twinkle twinkle, but snowing. And you got to go to a farm.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Yeah, just like little, just.
Is that your snow flurry?
Yeah, like you spin in a circle and catch some snowflakes in your mouth.
Like at the beginning when she did that? She was very classic. Yeah. Put her arms out.
That's cool. Yeah, sure. But even
snowflakes
then,
on her
personally,
tongue.
I would be like, I'm not going because if it gets bad, we're driving to a farm, which I know is not near town, and we're going to get stuck there. I have to be somewhere. So she already said yes and didn't back out of that. She didn't even like the dude. She didn't even
Right.
back
Well,
out of that.
before she got in the car, right? She already had her little inner monologue going
Yeah.
on. I'm thinking of ending things, right?
Yeah, so it was just kind of like, what are you doing? So it was literally her own and between her and him, baby, it's cold outside.
Right. So
Situation.
she got in the car already wanting to break up with him.
Right.
And then her whole, like, all this inner thought on the drive is like, we're not going to end up together anyway. This is going to end eventually. Might as well just break up. Blah, blah, blah.
So yeah, I think that there's so many different ways that I think this could have there's so many ways I think this could have gone, but there's so many ways I think this could have gone or did that I don't know if it did go that way.
Okay.
So for example, when they're in the car and she's talking about she knows how this is going to go and blah, 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 blah. And then when we get into the house and everything, and it's kind of like time is passing. And that weird thing that was even in the preview where she says, wait, that's a picture of me. And he goes, no, that's a picture of me when they were kids. And I'm like, wait, but are you guys? So I was wondering, I'm like, is one of them, are they both transgendered?
Is she not
and
real?
one was one in the childhood and the other one became the thing?
That's what you thought they were brother and sister?
No, I thought they were the same person.
Oh.
Somehow, like they were looking at their past, like they were coming home and looking at their past from different points of view. Like as a child, I was a boy, and now I'm a girl or something. I don't know. I was literally like, when people are falling and they're just trying to grab.
Well,
stuff.
that would make sense if they were the same person, because I'm pretty sure he could hear her thoughts. Right?
Yeah.
Like he kept sort of reacting to what she was thinking.
Yeah, it was like Fleabag. You never saw it, but
I've never seen Fleabag.
the priest in
Is there a
Fleabag,
mind reader in Fleabag?
He can kind of hear her thoughts because she turns to the camera and goes, she says, well, he's my fit. And then he's like, what'd you say? And she's like, what? He's like, could you hear that? He's like, I heard you say something. And
so it was like a Zach Morris thing, but then somebody could hear her?
Yeah, somebody could hear her Zach Morris thing.
Okay.
So I thought.
Well, yeah. So I thought he was
that.
like psychic.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of wondered that too. But then.
But he never addresses it.
No.
That's what I kept waiting for.
He just kept saying like, yeah, hey. Well, he's like, what?
Right. He's like, did you say something? She's like, no. He's like, oh, that's weird.
He's like, hey. He's like, what?
But it's kind of like a Stewie thing. Like you're like, can they hear her thoughts? Maybe not.
Maybe she's Stewie and he's Brian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe.
So then the other thing was like,
that was a Family Guy reference in case anybody's confused.
not our family members. But then, but there was everything that I thought was contradicted. So.
This movie contradicted itself.
Because you're like, oh, the mom and the dad, but then they're like old and then they're young and then they're talking and the dad's talking like she's dead. And
were you second guessing yourself? There was a few scenes I was like, I think she looks older now.
No, there's no second guessing. Then, the mom, both of them were getting older and younger. Like they were.
No. But the first time, because her first age shift wasn't super dramatic. I mean, it was dramatic, but also there was lighting, and I was like,
I feel like
I seeing things? I'm like, I think she just got older.
I feel like she was like 60 or 50 when they first showed up. And then she was like 7. Then she was like 70,
65,
and then
70.
in the next scene, she was like 80.
Oh yeah, then she turned like old lady, and I was like,
and then
by then I had caught on.
But then the dad was aging at different rates also.
Right.
And then I was trying to figure out if they were aging.
And then I kept noticing, what's her face? Okay, so the girl's character, well, they called her Lucy.
Yeah.
So she's introduced to us as Lucy.
And then she called herself in the beginning of the
movie.
movie.
Her phone rings and it's Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. And then I saw, which later I figured out, I'm pretty sure it said Yvonne. Oh yeah, because then Yvonne called her.
Yeah, Yvonne called, but there was a man's voice.
Yeah.
It was it was random. It was like a random monologue.
I think it was probably a poem. It was probably one of those books.
Right.
So then, because remember she picked up that book and then, okay, guys, we're getting on too many things. So what I was originally going to say was Lucy at dinner all of a sudden I realized, where did her sweater go? Like all of a sudden she was not wearing her sweater. And then when they're in the other room, I'm like, well, she has makeup on now and her hair's down and now she's wearing pearls. What is happening? And then, so the whole movie, I was so fixated on how they changed her appearance.
Yeah.
And so she had makeup on and pearls. And that's when she was a little more like wifey acting towards him. And then she would walk out of the room and she'd have her sweater back on and she'd be normal again. And then, I don't know, it was weird. And so her appearance kept changing. And then by the time they left the house, she was in more of like a, she had her sweater, but her hair was done more kind of like 80s vibe. And she had like these white kind of 80s looking earrings on.
Yeah.
That maybe I'm just reading into that because I grew up in the 80s, but I was like, okay, she left in some sort of 80s vibe because that is not how she showed up. I don't think she was wearing hoop earrings in the beginning.
I don't remember.
But anyway, but there's a lot more like appearance wise that we can talk about later.
Yeah, like so everybody was shifting time and different things. And then it gave you clues that the mom was dead. And the weird thing was the mom was sitting right there and he was talking, the dad was talking to the dude's mom. And then he just shifts into your mother was a great woman and she kind of lost it towards the end. And
right. I used to love her. How
yeah, and I was like,
that's what I had loved about her. Right.
And I'm confused. And then I think that's when
they did make a joke at dinner about not being ghosts.
Yeah.
Which I was
that
like, okay, they're definitely ghosts.
Like, are you a cop? No, you're definitely
a cop.
Are you a witch? I'm not a witch. You're a witch. Yeah, and isn't that when she? Oh yeah, that's when she got up to take the phone call. Then she turned around and everybody was gone.
She looked out the window.
Okay.
Yeah, she went to look out the window at the snow, and then she turned on everybody. Maybe it was all the same.
Yeah.
thing. No, because she took the phone call and she came back and she was like, "Oh, it's my girlfriend. Everything's fine."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Even though it was another creepy, weird voice.
Like, I take the road less traveled. That's
right.
the only life poem.
Right.
Still I rise.
Okay, so I think those were poems, and then
yeah, they definitely.
So she's a physicist, or she's in school studying physics.
I don't understand what she was talking about because they were talking about multiple.
Yeah, and it seemed like he was also studying physics, but then she's a painter and a poet, which we didn't know she was a painter until dinner. But in the car, he was like, he kept reciting these poems and like literature and stuff, which if we were more well read,
yeah, we probably would have this nailed.
Right, we would get
we
this
paid attention in school.
all wrapped up. But I don't.
Like, this is just Chaucer.
That's the only literary name you know.
Yeah, I just throw that around. I just say Chaucer and
Shakespeare.
F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Right.
There we go.
Or Robert Frost? Isn't that a somebody?
There you go. Okay. Noam Chomsky. We just throw that around at dinner parties that we can't go to.
Right.
Zoom dinner parties.
So anyway, so he asks her if she's written anything lately, and she's like, yes. And he says, well, read it to me or recite it or whatever. And then I thought it was going to be like a short little poem. She talked for 12 minutes.
That was definitely one of those. That was definitely one of those ones where I feel like they got that text. So if that is something that's already written, that's cool. But it would be great if somebody actually wrote that. It was one of the best, saddest, in a good way, things I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, it was great.
But she got that text and goes, "I'm going to memorize this whole thing,
mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to say it." And it was like, if we read through this, it'll be interesting to be like, oh yeah, she did that in one take.
Right.
She spent 2 weeks just locked in
memorizing
that. Sorry.
So it was so she recites this whole poem and it's beautiful and it's sad and it's melancholy and whatever. And she's crying while she's saying it, yada yada. I did think how she just finished writing this and she's already memorized her whole long poem, but whatever.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I've never written a song. No. And they'd be like, I know exactly what I played on all the instruments. Like, I don't know.
I was expecting her to find a piece of paper and read it. But no, she just recited it, which also, I mean, that's a clue, right? So then later she finds that book. She's in his childhood bedroom and she finds that book and she picks it up and realizes the poem she recited is in that book.
Well, she said she wrote that.
Right. But it was in this book. So however we tie this together, I think that he maybe manifested like his references. Wait. As a child, she recited a thing from his book, from his childhood bedroom.
Uh-huh.
Then when she ventured down to the basement, we find out because she's a painter and she had showed the family her paintings. But then she goes down to the basement and we see all these paintings on the wall, these posters of paintings. And the artist was like Robert Woodlock or something. And those were the pictures she had shown as her own paintings. So these were not her original paintings. I think he was manifesting these like some sort of mind control. I don't know. Physics. He had a whole bunch of words that he said about time and movies and how it's all these constructs and blah, blah, blah. It's all in our brains. And you've been talking about this, like how things are perceived.
That was so weird when he said that.
I know.
When he was just like, oh, it's just a perception.
It's just like, in your brain.
Light is not, no, there is no such thing as color. It's just perception that's in your brain. And I literally put that about sound on Facebook last week. And I was like, maybe I'm in the movie.
So he had all these.
Maybe I'm the chubby cheeked Matt Damon.
Yeah. So he had all those kind of monologues about things like that. And so I wrote down, I said, oh, he's just telling us what we're watching. Like he's just telling us, he's explaining in all these complicated philosophical book, whatever, poem ways. He's explaining to us what we're watching. I'm just a little like slower and don't quite understand.
It's kind of like how I do all these Simpsons references and whatnot and rap references. And you're like, what? But if you watch The Simpsons and you listen to rap, you would know everything that I'm talking about.
Right, things would click.
So we have no idea. We're not well read.
Right.
Because we watch Lifetime.
Right.
And so we don't know all that stuff.
Shout out to Married at First Sight.
Yes. This is
what we're watching right now.
This was very much a Married at First Sight situation.
We skipped
it's
that
like,
segment.
I don't know why I'm with him. And they're like, yeah, quit being so mean and just leave.
Right. So that's what I think. I think he manifested that in her.
So in that, don't you think he might have manifested this whole thing?
Yeah.
Like this is just him trying to relive
because he said time isn't even real. Time is what we perceive it. And so, yeah, I think because he grew up, he was a child in like the 50s. I'm guessing based on his
childhood room.
And then
his mom was picking up metal toys.
Right. And then when he talked about being at the school, all the kids were dressed like 80s kids. So I think he worked at the school in his 30s. So I think he just in his brain, he's controlling time, like for his own perception or whatever.
Yeah. So that's okay. So that's where so that's kind of the result I got to, kind of in a way. So let me just say a couple of things I just wrote while we were going through this.
I feel like we're jumping around. So we're talking about it like we watched it.
We're talking about this movie as if Primer was doing a review to the movie.
Right.
So I said her inner monologue needs medication.
Yeah. Yes.
She said she feels like they know each other so well, but she wants to end it, which is weird, which might play into what we're talking about, which is why she doesn't know why she stays with this guy, but she feels so close to him because she is a manifestation of him, and she can't leave because he is manifesting her. Right. And the baby it's cold outside thing falls all back into that. So, is that her poem is the weight of lead and Black Sabbath put together. I'll take you back to my home in the dark in a snowstorm and show you like what it used to be like to live here, which is all death. It's like, hey, there's these frozen sheep.
Right? Like, the frozen sheep, the dead pig.
If you knew all these horrible things were happening, or, these things were living in squalor, why would you be like, hey, I want to show you these dead sheep?
Right.
And these pigs that
I
got
think even during the dinner scene, I said out loud, why did he bring her here?
right.
What is this? Because at that point, I hadn't really put anything together. And I just thought, why is he so weird with his mom? Why did he want to come home if he's so weird?
Right. So yeah, and that was definitely weird. Anytime his mom tried to touch him, he moved away. Oh yeah, that's what I put. Let me show you around my farm of death.
There was some alive lambs.
Yeah, they definitely were, but they definitely,
sheep or
like she
whatever.
said, they looked really sad just in the dark
Yeah.
in the barn. But I guess the other side is freezing to death. So, I feel like Toni Collette was channeling I forget Lady Dynamite. What's her name?
I do not remember. Blonde. No.
Yeah, she's blonde.
Oh, okay. But I think I was thinking of someone else.
Lady Dynamite. Let's see. Lady.
Hey Siri, who is Lady Dynamite?
Not Lady Diana.
Let's just ask Siri.
No, don't talk to her.
She's not real. She's a construct.
Yeah, she's a construct.
She's a construct inside my phone that helps answer questions. We would have known by now.
No, she would have done something wrong. She would have probably started reciting some of the poems. Maria Bamford.
Yes.
I feel like Maria Bamford, no diss to Toni Collette, but I feel like Maria Bamford would have just been Maria Bamford and it would have worked. Like all her crazy stuff.
Maybe.
If she just she couldn't have been as,
right.
boisterous. But
Toni Collette has all the nuances.
I guess. Yeah, it's like immediately when I saw that dog, I was thinking,
what's happening to this dog?
is this a Matrix situation?
Right.
Like, is she in a simulation or what's going on? Because, there's not that much water in the world that would take that long to get off of you. But then we saw the ashes in the boys' room. And it's like, oh, that dog's been dead like 55 years or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Who has a fancy urn like that for their dog?
I don't know. I buried my goldfish in
They
a
were
matchbox.
farm folk? They weren't rich like that.
Maybe they had a box or urn type thing that they used.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the mom had the laugh like the Joker, the 2019 Joker.
Like
she just kind of like laughed
random...
to pain.
Oh yeah. yeah.
I was just like, oh, it had that horror movie feel. Like you thought it was going to be a horror movie and it was not at all.
And you know what? And also we went into this and this is one of the things I don't like to do. I like to know what I'm walking into. So the whole beginning, I didn't remember watching the preview. I couldn't remember it. And so I didn't know what type of movie we were watching. If this was going to be like a cutesy indie
You're like,
flick.
wait, am I supposed to be scared?
Right. Or a scary movie or what it was like confusing. But yeah, so the whole time I was trying to figure out, is this about to get with the mom? I was like, is she going to try and murder them?
Oh, she could have tried and murdered him.
Is she a murdery ghost?
I guess that's what a lot of ghosts are in movies. Oh, so when I because I kept showing the janitor and I was like, he's the janitor.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, maybe he is the janitor. And then I was like, wait, he's the janitor. And I'm like, yes. Like shaking my head, no, like, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I was back and forth the whole time.
We could probably come back to that. Oh yeah, her voice kept changing. The lead actress.
Yes, depending on what they were talking about.
Yeah, like when she started critiquing art, she became like, I don't know what you're talking about.
When they were talking about that old movie,
yeah,
it was like she turned into an old,
yeah.
What era is that? Like 40s starlet.
Yeah.
And then she even all of a sudden had a cigarette. She was like smoking.
Oh yeah, she was.
The cigarette all of a sudden. So
I would, yeah.
I actually at that point was when I noticed that the aspect ratio or whatever was in the square. Yeah, 4:3.
4:3. Like ratio.
All of a sudden I thought, oh, did they just now do that because they're talking about an old movie? And then you told me it'd been like that the whole time.
It's like he's been dead the whole time.
I didn't notice.
So then I thought, is this like a metaphor for their relationship? Like what somehow their parents were a version of what their life would be together or something? Like this
Yeah,
was her point of view of like what would happen, and you would buy a farm and like
I kept
have
waiting
this
for it to round out like that was them old,
right.
but I don't think so.
Yeah, it didn't. Um and then yeah, I was like, well maybe he's he's the janitor and he kidnapped her and this is like her fever dream while she's locked up inside of that house or something. Because remember they were like, don't go in the basement, and I was like, oh, maybe she's in the
Oh,
basement.
maybe she was trying to get.
But then
Oh,
she went in the basement and nothing really happened except for, well,
well, we
it could
did see the
it could
potentially the janitor clothes in the
we
washer.
saw the clothes, so that could give herself a clue that she's been kidnapped by the janitor. So yeah, maybe.
But also the dancers, which I want to talk about this later. But the that choreography scene
Yeah.
at the end. But I thought that because the janitor took her.
The boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah, maybe really this is about the janitor.
Yeah, so it's like maybe he
stole
is the
her.
janitor, or maybe he's not the janitor.
Maybe
and
he's
the
not
janitor,
the janitor, and the janitor
kidnapped her.
stole her away, and that's why he's. I bet that's what it is, because that's why he's so fixated. He lost her. He died. He's a ghost.
He's a ghost. He's
We solved it.
he's Bruce Willis.
I did think if we could just crack the choreography, that dance
Yeah,
number,
I think the choreography is
that was telling us what happened.
yeah, so I think that's possibly what happened. They were together. She was kidnapped. He looks back on all that he's lost throughout his life, and the janitor took the
And
girl.
just wished he could stay. Remember, he was talking about how being young was king, and it was better to be young, and that's all he wanted was to go back when he was young, and he was with her. Done.
Oh, and then the malt shop thing was super confusing. I thought so.
So who was the girl? Did you recognize her?
No, I don't know what was going on in the malt
Okay.
shop at all.
Okay.
I just know as soon as she said it smells weird, I was like, that means death. I don't care what anybody tells you. In a movie,
Oh
it
yeah.
smells weird, it's death.
Okay.
And I thought that they were eating like death. So that's when I started thinking, oh, now he's literally death. He's taking her. It's like a get out of death. You go to that house and you can't leave because that's where you die. And especially since I thought this was a suicide movie, or her dying, but mainly I thought it was a suicide movie. This was her passing on to the other side. So he was taking her to his parents' home, quote unquote, which is death, which is the afterlife. And then she was like, oh, I want to go back. So she's like fighting. But ultimately, he was never going to let her actually go back to get back to work.
Because he keeps telling her, she says, take me home. And he says, where? To the farm? And she's like, no, to my house.
It's like, where's the keys?
Right.
Come on. Where are the keys?
And then at some point she was, give me the keys.
Yeah.
At one point she was like, I grew up on a farm. But then she talked about living in an apartment.
Yes.
And I was
there was
like,
a couple of things like that.
huh? So
How
her
they
brain
met,
was all
same thing.
bananas. Yeah, because she told a cute little story, but then in her heart, she didn't want to talk to him.
Right. He was the one coming to her. And so, yeah, there was just like major discrepancy.
Get your stories together, Ghost.
Yeah. Come on, Ghost. Get your stories together. Oh, yeah. And then at the end, it was the episode with the pig people, the Twilight Zone episode with the pig people. He was winning, I guess, a Nobel Prize.
Oh, yeah.
And there's all these people in this weird, like, old people, like the old people. Well, how you feel about Miguel's makeup in This Is Us? It was like
terrible.
that kind of like
Miguel and Rebecca.
It was like what's her name? Braverman, when she got cancer and was bald,
Her bald
but her
cap.
head was like 6 inches high. But it was like purposefully bad. And he's talking to these people and they're just kind of like mindlessly clapping. And then at a Nobel Prize speech, he then does a singing monologue with a
mock-up of
Broadway,
his room.
a mock-up of his room. So
Right.
I was like,
You know what that image made me think of when they showed us the audience, and then I was like, well, they all look really weird. And then I zoomed in and I saw, oh, they have stage makeup on. They were all done up to play. They were done up like they were old people in a stage play.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
but the shot made me think of the when we go to the movies. Well, when we used to go to the movies in Burbank, and the wall had the picture of the audiences. In the black and white. That's what it made me think of, is like those black and white pictures of old audiences from back in the day.
You mean old people audiences or old audiences?
Old audiences.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just from way back. They didn't need to have the old makeup on, but the shot just made me think of the old theater, which I guess would be his reference. Like he was old. But anyway.
Yeah, and so it was
kind of random.
Was he winning a prize for his journey through what we just watched? Because, I'm like, what?
Well, he said that it was love. The discovery he made was love, and that was the meaning for everything. And she was studying age and aging, and I don't know. He just seemed very focused on not getting old.
Right.
And like his life having meaning because of her. So I think he just broke. I think he lost her and his brain broke.
Is this also an analogy for America and our quest for youth?
Oh, probably. I don't know. So are those all your notes?
That was my
okay. I wish you guys could see my notes, because I do notes by hand and they're just scribbles of little random phrases all over. They look psychotic.
You just drew pictures of the Babadook everywhere?
The what?
The Babadook.
Babadook?
Look them up.
I know this word, but I don't know what it looks like.
Well, you need to watch the movie. It's good.
There's a movie called Babadook?
Ooh, I'm gonna plan in October like no other.
Is that a scary movie?
Yeah, we're gonna watch some scary movies.
So maybe he looks like a ghost or a skull.
I can't tell you.
Does he wear a top hat?
He does.
Oh, okay. I know the top hat. I can't picture the rest of him.
You're like, does he have a guy named Watson that works with him? Like, no, that is not the Babadook.
Well, the Babadook, you can't be that scary if you're in a top hat. I don't know.
We'll see the movie.
Okay, well, so the music, I realized at the very beginning, the music sounded like that house looked. Like that's what that house would sound like. It was like this old kind of classic old movie soundtrack kind of thing. Like high-pitched things and strings, and you could probably
high-pitched things.
I'm sure if you went back you would notice it.
No, I kind of remember, because I remember thinking, how many strings do they have there?
Okay, I wrote down, is he mind reading?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we figured that out. I think that we just realized maybe she's his mind. Okay, anyway.
Your mind.
Okay, did you notice this when she was doing her long poem in the car? And she was looking out the window most of the time. She was crying. And then she said the phrase like X-ray vision. And when she said X-ray vision, she looked straight into camera. So then the next few lines, she was speaking directly to the audience.
Well, she wasn't looking. It was like they told her to look at the bottom piece of the hood.
It felt straight to camera.
It didn't look like she was looking straight in. It looked like she was looking at the bottom of the hood.
She was looking through us with her X-ray vision.
I don't feel like she was looking at the camera. Man. I feel like, I agree with you to some degree. So it's like, there's the camera lens. Yeah. And then there's, on the professional cameras, there's that hood. Yeah. I felt like she was looking at the bottom of that hood, which is very close. Kind of like when you're on the iPhone and you're you're kind of looking not completely at yourself, but not at the lens. It's just kind of like,
maybe if we were sitting lower, it would have been.
We can agree to disagree. It's fine.
Maybe because you're taller than me. I felt it was direct into my eyeballs.
Okay.
Anyway, that's how
some people feel like a picture's looking at them. Right. Some people are like, I don't know.
That's how I perceived it. Okay. And then another thing she said, which I need to look up because it's probably a quote. I think it was actually a quote, and I didn't write it down right. I didn't write it down right, so I can't like quote it, but I got most of it. When she said humans cannot live in the present, so they invented hope. And I was like, ooh, marinate on that.
Yeah.
because that's a thought. She was talking about how animals live in the present, but humans cannot because they can't live in the present, so they invented hope.
Yeah, something like that.
Like you can't accept your, like when people are like, ignore COVID, everything will be fine in the future. Eventually, yes, but right now we have COVID.
Yeah, or like when people say like, yeah, when you get better, we're going to do this, this, and this. And like, they have cancer now. Like, let's deal with this. Let's not act like they don't.
Things need to be addressed, at least acknowledged.
Yeah.
And then I thought this is the kind of movie that makes you notice every little thing. Like you start questioning every little thing to see if it has significance. So like the railing on the stairs or like the wallpaper. They were very focused on the wallpaper. So I kept wondering if the wallpaper was going to mean something.
And the basement was a confusing thing because he was like, when you're a kid and like what's in the basement.
Right, the basement's scary.
And he goes, what did he say? He said something.
They were joking and he goes, oh yeah, he's trapped down there or something. He's locked in the basement.
And then she's like, who's
locked in the basement?
Like, what?
Maybe the janitor was locked in the basement.
Maybe he kidnapped the janitor.
Maybe.
She kidnapped. No, he kidnapped. The janitor kidnapped her and he kidnapped him. But she was kidnapped in a different location, so he doesn't know.
Right. Never let him take you to the second location.
That's right. That's what Oprah taught me.
Exactly.
Oprah taught me.
I really thought at some point the diner scene, like the fake movie that the janitor was watching.
By Robert
Zemeckis.
Starring the lady who got moved up on The Boys season 2. She's like VP now or something.
Yeah, I really thought that was going to come into play more somewhere. Like they were going to go to that diner somehow or like, but also in the car ride, she became that actress at some point. It was a split second and it was quick. It wasn't a split second. It was like a one line of dialogue as the actress from that movie. And then she switched back. So I wish I paid attention to what that dialogue was because I feel like that was the key for that scene.
I wonder also if this could be about faking who you are to try to seem like you're something. Because she quoted she quoted something that she said she wrote that was already a book, and then you said there was art that was already art.
Oh, also this whole movie is based on a book. So
based on a movie based off of a book that was based on a movie. That's a toy.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's just kind of like maybe he is just the janitor and he thought he was going to be a physicist and he thought, or he or she, I don't know if she's real or not or whatever, but maybe it's like all these manifestations of who you think you're going to be. But really all he was a janitor who had ailing parents and he had to take care of them and feed them green pea soup.
Yeah. That was a fancy dinner also when they showed up. And he was like, my mom's been sick. She probably didn't cook. And that was like a full-on Thanksgiving feast.
Oh, yeah, because he kept telling her, you sure you don't want to stop? Like,
right.
That immediately, no, it would have been over at that moment. Because we show up, the mom's waving out the window. We go see a bunch of dead animals. We come inside. He's yelling. Saying hello, 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 hello.
Right.
No one answers.
Right.
I'd be like, well, either that was a cardboard cutout or psycho type situation, or no one lives here. And then they finally come down and they're lemony snickets or whatever. The dad looks all sorts of weird. They look strange. And then they're just acting really weird. And then all of a sudden, the other room that had no food in it has Thanksgiving in there. I'm like, wait a minute. Is David Copperfield in here? Jesus, Satan, or what? You got to explain what's going on.
So you said psycho. That reminded me of another theory I had at some point during the movie. I thought maybe everybody's a real person and he's psycho or whatever. And because remember when the mom was like, he's very bossy. He likes things just so. You have to do it his way.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, and then when she was saying that, she was dressed up in like the 50s. Like she was like 50s mom. So I thought
50s
maybe this is all really
going on.
Yeah. Maybe this is all happening, and
But I'm in love with 50s mom.
That's the same lady. 50's mom and 50's mom. That's how the song
50s?
goes.
No, it's Stacy's mom.
I'm in love with Stacy's mom.
Stacy's mom has got it going on.
I know the song.
Something, something, something. Copyright issues.
Yeah, we can never
get on serious.
Yeah.
Back catalog has been flagged.
So.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. So then I was thinking maybe he makes them do this. Like makes them dress up in different aged makeup and different clothes and pretend to die and all that stuff. Maybe
But how would they do that fast without actually being on stage and having a bunch of people in all black helping them get in and
maybe
out of...
he's made them do this for so long they've got it down. Like
every like 3 years when he brings a girlfriend home.
Right. I don't know. Okay, so all right, continuing on with my random thoughts. Okay, there's a diner. Oh, I wrote down several things about randomly. I was like, wait, wasn't she wearing a yellow hat earlier? And then did she take off her sweater? Where did those pearls come from?
You were all about the clothes.
Yeah, I was questioning the dog and
Is he really a dog?
And then
it's the cat from Captain Marvel.
Well, what I had already said was he's explaining the movie to us as we're watching the movie. I really think that's what was happening. I think he was explaining the movie to us when he was quoting and talking about all these philosophical things and like talking about movies and the books. If we just broke those down, I'm sure we could crack this.
But I'm dumb.
That and the choreography. We could break down that choreography piece.
Where's your friend Twitch?
Yeah, I need or
Aaron.
Travis Wall. I need Travis Wall to break this down. Maybe he choreographed that. Okay, so those were all my random thoughts that I scribbled down. Some of them we already talked about. No, wait, we didn't talk about the clothes yet. Okay. So, what do you think the colors meant? So, at the beginning, she is wearing she has bright yellow gloves on.
Yeah.
Her jacket is orange, I think.
Yeah.
And her hat is red.
Yeah.
And then she had a scarf on. Wait, I can't remember what color her jacket was.
She definitely looks like she was about to throw her hat in the air and then it was going to freeze.
Right. And then she had a different color scarf on.
Freeze
By
frame,
the
not
end of
freeze.
it, by the time they leave the house, she no longer has a hat or gloves. She does still have a scarf and a jacket, but everything is blue now. And the
like melancholy
jacket has a hood on it. So that's how she leaves. I don't know what happened to her other jacket or her hat. Did she pick up these things in the house or was it magic? Everything just magic changed.
Everything's magic.
But the colors, I feel like the colors are a thing because I think that more than just her changed, but I was really only watching her. She was the only one I noticed. But I couldn't tell if I feel like his outfit changed too, but now I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I can't remember. I wonder if the walls changed now that I think about it because you kept talking about the
wallpaper?
wallpaper and in the beginning it shows the house. So I'm like, I wonder if the house aged and we didn't notice.
Maybe. I don't know. Can I, before we take our research break, can I tell you?
Research break.
This is going to be such a long episode.
No, we're doing all right.
Okay.
I think.
Can I tell you the few little, did you know facts that I dug up?
Shouldn't we do that in the thing?
No, because that'll be after we read everything. We're going to talk about the actual movie.
Okay.
So, there's not very much on Wikipedia about this movie.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually discover that much, which I'm sure I will figure out a lot more after we
Before you
read
say
stuff.
that, it was very funny because I saw the preview for this and I was like, oh, okay. This sounds like my kind of movie. I'm always into movies like this, like that movie we watched where that kid was stealing cars and his sister was a prostitute. They were like 14. Something. It was in New York. They were doing the kid was doing chop stuff and they lived in a chop shop. And then it ended and they got tickets to like a Yankee game. And we were just kind of like, well, interesting
We like a
look
good
on
weird
life.
indie movie.
Like,
Yeah.
that really didn't go anywhere, but it was interesting thing to see how people
so
live.
we are used to the movies just ending.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But okay, so well, on that note, the director, what's his face?
There you go.
Charlie Kaufman.
Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah. Charlie Kaufman.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, okay, I need to know who directed this movie. This
Yeah.
is going to tell me a lot. So if you don't know, which I didn't, Charlie Kaufman is known for...
You know his work.
I know it now that I'm looking at it, but it's Schenectady, New York.
That was
Eternal...
We need to rewatch that movie.
Yeah, we do, because I fell asleep.
You fell asleep?
I think so, or I was just super confused.
That was the beginning of my mind expanding.
Wait, I fell asleep during Stranger Than Fiction.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. I just put those two together. Yeah.
Like Will Ferrell and Charlie Kaufman? I would actually see that. But...
Okay, but he did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, being John Malkovich, and probably a whole bunch of other weird movies. So
adaptation.
Okay. And so I totally get it now. But here's the few things I learned. Brie Larson was originally cast as Lucy.
I can see that.
Can you?
Was this after The Room?
They did casting in 2018.
Yeah, it's after The Room.
Yeah. So maybe she didn't do it because of the whole Marvel or
yeah, she's probably Marveled
movies.
out.
But
this is kind of
I don't know.
room-esque.
I don't
see her as the philosophy type.
I don't see her in this movie. So I'm glad they didn't go that route. I don't know why they didn't go that route. Probably because she needed to go be Captain America or whatever her name is.
Captain Marvel. Captain America. Numerical.
But she was originally cast, and then they went with there's two Jessies in this movie, Jesse Plemons and Jesse Buckley. Jesse Buckley, if y'all remember, we talked about her in Wild Rose, which I really love her now.
Check out that podcast episode.
Check out that episode.
Ad placement.
So anyway, speaking about Lucy, when I was looking at the cast on IMDb, it says Jake, which was Jesse Plemons, but he's the only one that gets a name. Everybody else is, even though they call her 7 different names in the movie, Lucy, Louise, Yvonne, like they call her different names, but her character name just says young woman.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. Like they didn't even put like Lucy/Louise.
Wait, so all those names were hers.
Louisa.
So that means she was calling herself the whole time.
I guess so. Yeah.
So maybe she was trying to tell herself to get out of there.
Maybe. Because that girl at the ice cream shop was like, I'm worried for you.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Dude, I don't know. That would have been like almost a Fargo situation, just running out into the snow. Like, why are you worried for me and you've never seen me before? And then he goes, oh, these girls don't like me. And I'm like, why do they not like you?
Maybe they were from his high school?
I don't know.
Maybe they were, I don't know. So, okay, here's my last fact or thing I found out. That the 4 main cast, Jake, young woman, mother and father, right? That's Jesse Plemons, Jesse Buckley, Toni Collette, and David Thewlis. Don't know how to say his name. Anyway, 3 of the 4 have been on the show Fargo, but at all different times.
Interesting.
Toni Collette has not been on Fargo.
Probably agent stuff.
I thought that was interesting, an interesting tie-in, but they were never... I don't think their years overlap. Maybe somewhere in there, but it looked like they were all different years. So
I feel like that. Yeah, I feel like that's agent stuff. Like
Probably.
the agent gets them jobs on Fargo, and
but
then
does it
gets them
snow?
jobs.
It snows in Fargo, and then the house, and it snowed in the car, and I don't know, y'all.
And Steve Buscemi's
I've never even seen Fargo.
And then he's a man.
Yeah, I don't even know what this show is.
You haven't? Oh, you've seen the movie though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But these are all the
show,
TV show.
Oh yeah, Chris Rock's gonna be in the newest season.
I heard it's good.
Yeah.
Is it
I
kind of an anthology?
started some of the first one. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay.
I started some of the first one because I had Billy Bob Thornton, and then
did Kirsten Dunst do a season? Because I think I wanted to watch it because
I don't know.
I saw her.
That chick we like, she did it. I can't remember what her name is, but she did it. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right, so that's all I got really so far. So I guess let's go do our research and come back.
Break.
That's like the dream sequence.
I guess I'm leaving that in now. And we're back.
Doodle, 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 doodle.
Yes. We were right and wrong.
We got so...
And right round.
We
right
got
round.
a little bit right and a lot of bit wrong.
It's like when you go to Genghis Grill or some other Mongolian style grill place and you just put all the sauces in there. That's kind of like what we do. We're like spicy Asian, whatever
we guessed
that is.
all the
Soy
theories,
sauce,
so we were bound to get something right.
Polynesian. Yes.
Right.
We kind of was, yeah. It was literally like a word, not a word jumble, but kind of when you're in a business meeting and you're like, okay, you need to come up with a new product, and you're like, socks that have hats, a baby seat that's also a car, and you're just throwing stuff out, and they're all plausible, but there's
it was a little bit like expected, and then a little bit not.
And I think the big reason why we failed, for me at least, I've never seen Oklahoma. All I know is Oklahoma something. See, I don't even know the rest of the words.
And I don't even know if that's from the play or if that's something else.
Yeah, we in high school band we played the music from the movie. I guess Oklahoma.
We did.
Yeah. That's what they go.
That wasn't from Oklahoma. That was like no, that was like the Cowboys.
Oh, that was the Cowboys. Same thing. Oklahoma, the Cowboys.
I don't think so.
But yeah, so there was Oklahoma. Also, we didn't read any. I don't even think the poems really didn't matter. It was really Oklahoma, and there was another telling thing.
Well, he quoted like some book, it was a book, but it was about movies. It was a critics, or not a critics, but like a reviewer.
Yeah, but that wasn't
lady.
I was saying things that kind of told what was really happening and what the movie was really about. That's what I mean.
Well, okay, so I did get that part right. When they were in the car and he was breaking down like the old movie, and then they were talking about how movies affect you and blah blah blah. And I was thinking, I think he's breaking down the movie for us right now, but I'm not able to understand it at the moment.
Like, I don't...
But at least I got that part right. So here's what we learned, people.
What did we learn, people?
We learned that, okay, so you know how we said like she was a not a figment, but like a manifestation from his brain? Mm-hmm. So we got that part right. We said a whole bunch of other things. We also thought she was, but they
like
were.
Detectives. There's a body on the floor, and we're trying to suss out what's going on.
All the stuff. What did they say? Throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
See what sticks.
Yeah, so we just threw everything at the wall.
A bunch of spaghetti noodles.
Okay, so we did get that right. Oh, and we're basing this on. Well, I read a little bit of an article, and we just watched a explainer video.
A 38-minute explainer video.
So this guy explained it to us. He was a little bit snarky. I think he said the movie was pretentious, but I think he was a bit pretentious.
You know what the funny thing is as the movie is breaking the fourth wall and talking about how media floods your brain with ideas that aren't your own and you end up just regurgitating crap. He was sitting in front of a 7x12
hundreds of DVDs
DVD thing. So he's watched hundreds of thousands of hours of TV and movies that have colored his brain.
And he also just sat there and regurgitated a movie.
Right.
And broke it down.
Hey, he just regurgitated a movie.
Yeah. So anyway. But
no hate to that dude. It's I think it's just funny and I think he probably knows that. It's just how this movie is dissecting movies and dissecting human thinking and all that type of stuff. It's kind of like when like the Apple premiere just happened, right? So Apple came out with their own 1 hour or 2 hour video, right? Then Brian Tong and Telosive and all these people come and then they do a video. And then somebody else possibly does a video off of the Apple or off of the videos of the videos.
So he probably made this video based on articles that have already broken down the movie and explained it exactly as he said it. And then he gave his own bad apples.
I'm not even necessarily saying that. I'm just saying like
No, I'm saying that's what he did. That's my guess.
That's your guess, but the thing is this guy probably goes off of his own knowledge, off of the knowledge he gained from films and movies.
Yeah.
I don't think he's
He has watched a lot of
quote
movies,
unquote
apparently.
ripping off other people. I'm just saying the inside base, like I said, the turducken of the turducken is very funny to me because as we are regurgitating what he said about a movie that's about regurgitating other people's regurgitations.
Well, we have enough to talk about with the movie itself. That's gross. Before we break down this guy's... Stop! Cutting all of this out.
Owl pellets.
So, this guy explained to us, which, okay, we thought Jake was the janitor. Janitor's Jake.
Janitor Jake.
Right. We were kind of mixing them all up like they all exist in the same universe for some reason, but there's really only Jake. So, whoa. What was made clear was that it was just Jake. Everybody else was in his brain. Everybody else.
What's her name?
Lucy, Louisa,
There is no
Amy.
Lucy, only Jake.
Only Jake.
See, regurgitating.
He did have a mom and dad, but the mom and dad we were watching were not his mom and dad. So,
we don't know what his mom and dad, who his mom and dad were.
No, but we were so this is why I say that, because what we were watching was Jake's idealized memories.
Yeah.
So, old janitor Jake is dying and he's remembering his life.
Right.
Or he's having these like memories throughout the day or whatever. Throughout the night, he's cleaning the janitor. So when we see the janitor cleaning, that's like present day, real life Jake.
Right.
Everything else is
Brain Jake.
Brain Jake. Yeah. His idealized memories.
Right.
So I guess all the breadcrumbs he was dropping along the way so that we would know that is when he talked about that song, I think it was Lucy. There's a song named Lucy.
No, I thought it was the poem.
Oh, okay. The
It was
poem.
the poem that was about a girl,
An
whose life
idealized
ended short.
woman who died early or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of a breadcrumb of like, this Lucy is not a real person. This is like his idealized version of a woman he wishes he was with.
Wait a minute. When the other women were calling, did he switch names of her? Like when Yvonne called, did he start calling her Yvonne? Like he was triggering the names? Okay.
No, this guy didn't really explain that. Oh, I forgot to look up too the colors. Why the colors? Like this guy didn't talk about the changing clothes, but if it is in someone's brain, like he jumps. Like we don't dream linearly, really.
Right.
So it makes sense that
Right. He's taking an outfit from one random girl he saw one time.
Right.
With the mind that he's making, or with the face of another girl that he saw, you know.
So he's just placing them in these situations and outfits and colors that he's feeling at the moment. Like at the beginning, he was so happy to be off on his journey to go to his parents' house with his new girlfriend. So she was in like bright, sunny colors.
Right.
And then by the time he dies, she's in dark blue.
Well, I think that kind of goes back to the hope thing. Like in this process, he was hoping to gain something out of this or to make himself feel better. But then it comes to the realization that it's not going to happen because he's dying.
Right. Which is why he got so upset in the car, I think, was when he started yelling about how, what was he was so mad about people saying like, oh, no. Okay, remember the car? He started being like, when people say everything's gonna be okay, God doesn't give you anything more than you can handle.
Right.
Yeah, a whole bunch of things. He kept saying all these things. And I don't know if you noticed, but Lucy or whoever, the young woman was in the passenger and she yelled like, stop it. Like, and then she would kind of like make fun of him and do like raspberries and make noises and like boo what he was saying. So I think that was him, like his like, I'm dying. Like, yeah, where's the hope? Like I have, like, it's all at the end now. It's done. Which this person pointed it because we thought like, oh, this was a suicide theme or whatever. Yeah. Like we thought it was her wanting
to commit suicide.
Right. Yeah. And then really it was him.
So the funny thing is that the guy didn't say this in the video, but as he was talking, I was thinking, you know, maybe this whole thing plays out over the one day, because in the beginning we see him, he's there and the kids are there and they're practicing Oklahoma, which I didn't know because I don't know Oklahoma.
Right.
And then he's there throughout the night, and one of the things they pointed out is they're having dinner, and then after she explains how they met, which is all the explanations of women that he's met that he probably had no real relationship with. He just met and tried to hit on them or whatever,
Right.
and nothing happened. But once she tells that story at the dinner table, everybody disappears and she's just sitting there. And then the next scene is him watching that Robert Zemeckis movie, and he didn't say this. But when he was saying, talking about this manifestation thing, I was like, oh, that's him being, in a way uncreative. It's like the thoughts
Like
that he
his
has
brain
in his
turned
head
off.
just turned off because he's watching a movie.
Right. The imagination.
Right. Your
And the fantasy
imagination
went away.
dies. Your own thoughts die. So his character was just kind of like sitting there, kind of like if you have to go to the bathroom, you don't pause the video game. And then Mario's just kind of like, wiggling his shoulders or something like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And
that goes into the overarching theme of what the other piece of it is his kind of obsession with film and media and how that
Right.
took over his everything, and he wasn't producing any original thoughts. Because we were saying we figured he was quoting things throughout the movie, and I just didn't really piece that part together where it sounds like super smartsy,
Right.
but really you're just regurgitating other people's thoughts and rather than having your own.
And that makes me think of two things. Like, so, like you've said this before and other people were saying, like, how does he know all this stuff? And he's so smart. And I was like, I literally just watched the History Channel in the 90s when it was actually the History Channel.
Right.
Like, I obviously history, I don't know how you could be smart and like math. Sure, that's kind of regurgitation of stuff, but you need to be pretty good at math and science.
Right.
Knowing history is just pretty much like.
So you think maybe he
knowing-
wasn't actually smart?
No. I'm just saying, like, that idea. I think kind of like when he was making fun of Kaufman and all that. I think also this movie is kind of making fun of this dumb idea, like I was saying before we break, about this dinner party world that we live in. We're just like,
To have your little
you know a
talking
bunch of like talking points, and so you're a genius. It's like anybody can read a Samsung soundbar manual.
It's if you can go further and expand and like have conversation.
Yeah, and connect. Like if you can watch a bunch of movies and connect themes from books and from reality, and you could put together thought processes that are a mix of your own or other people's. That's when I think I'm like, wow, this person's able to pull history, science, current events, and be able to make a statement that is relevant in this time. It isn't just like, Pretty in Pink was filmed in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's not really knowledge. That's just a computer.
So on that theme, also, it's more than just that he's just reciting what other people have said. His love, which loving movies is fine. Obviously, we have a podcast about we love watching movies.
Right.
But it's kind of the thing where they say, like, well, we were talking about this the other day, like how many marriages and relationships have movies ruined.
Right.
Because people get that idealized thing.
Wait, did you say that backwards? How many marriages have been ruined by movies?
Right.
You're like, so many marriages have ruined life.
How
has
many
ruined
relationships have been ruined by movies?
Yeah.
So, like, women maybe have the idealized, like, they want the Prince Charming and they want the, the kind of Disney
Right.
boyfriend.
Right.
And then maybe men want the hot chick that drinks beer and plays football or whatever. Like these.
And never gains weight. She
Right,
drinks
never
all
gains
the
weight.
She drinks all the beer and all the
Right.
peanuts and pretzels.
Eats all the hot dogs because that's hot too.
The Philly cheesesteak.
Like-
She eats tons of Philly cheesesteaks.
Right, like
but she's
there's-
still 120.
Right. So there's all these like, and we wouldn't watch these movies if they were always reflected reality, right? That's the whole point of a movie is the
Yeah.
fantasy, but
Where people don't explain stuff and then just stop calling you.
right. Yeah.
You're
But
like, well, that's weird.
but this character seemed to actually, I'm thinking he applied it to his life and ended up alone at the
Right.
end. And so he's thinking back on the idealized life he wished he'd had plucked
Right.
out of a movie, but just obviously it didn't come to fruition.
I think the bigger thing to take out of this, I think about, me, I'm always an existentialist, is like what kind of like, I think they were saying this of just kind of looking at your life and knowing that it's not going to be a movie. Like I was thinking about this today about how ever since I was 15, like I wanted to be like in a rock band and I wanted to tour the world and all this stuff. And that hasn't happened. And maybe at age 55, I'll be like, peppery gray and somebody's like, hey, we're going to do this tour now that COVID's over. And I'll get to live that thing. But it kind of sucks to live your life being like, I'm not a touring musician, so my life is just completely crap. It kind of, especially since even though this current time, in my opinion, sucks and may get worse, it's still probably better than many other times in history, all of history,
Yeah.
where we can literally sit right now and choose to be hot to turn the fans off and not be like, it's just hot and we can't do anything about it. And we have to go find wood.
Right.
It's just,
or water.
I can literally, I have 3 places to drink water, or if I want to relieve myself in. Well, more than that, I guess, if you include the toilet.
Well, if you lived outside, it would just be anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere. But I'm just saying, like, we have all of these luxuries and, we're doing pretty well for ourselves generally. But we're
people still compare themselves to movies.
Right. And we're sitting there like.
Or other people.
Right. There's something, like, it doesn't matter. If there weren't movies, like, people have always been comparing
what was the
themselves to
thing?
others.
What was the quote? Is it from, did somebody say this on Married at First Sight? It was, I can't remember.
This whole movie to Married at First Sight.
No, what was it? It was comparison is the thief of joy, something like that.
That sounds like probably both.
And
somebody was saying that because they're like, we shouldn't be comparing our marriages.
Right. Yeah. It was something like comparison was the thief of joy.
Yeah.
But that's true. Like he stole his own joy by comparing his life or expecting his life to match the play Oklahoma, which I don't know maybe is there a love story in there? I don't know, but I'm guessing.
I think that's just kind of what was happening at the moment because the kids were doing Oklahoma and he said they do it every year.
Right. Well, it seemed important to him because there was a song on the radio. He had several references of Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, it's true. And I guess the fever dream could just be anything. Like, like when I watched a scary movie and then you weren't even watching the scary movie. You were asleep and then all your dreams are about the scary movie. It's not like you wanted that to happen.
That's true.
But you're saying with the other parts, it does mean that Oklahoma has some sort of bearing on his life. Yeah, about the Married at First Sight, I think I was thinking about that because a lot of these shows, all these dating shows, they're like, I want a man to sweep me off my feet. I want a woman, like you said, that has drinks the 10 beers and is still classy. And, like that very rarely exists.
The woman who wants the man to pay all the bills,
right? To
work and pay all the bills,
right?
And
like under what construct?
Like what?
Under a Reagan made up thing or a Leave It to Beaver 1950s, like
it's a relationship, y'all. Like it takes. That just doesn't. If that's what you got, cool, I guess.
Right.
But
yeah, not knocking it.
If you set out and that's your singular vision. That's how you end up an alone old janitor.
Yeah.
Killing yourself with hypothermia in your truck.
And and it's like you have people say, oh, the man should ask me out on a date. It's like, hey, when you're living with those 8 cats and he's got 4 kids, happy.
You can have expectations.
Yeah.
And you can, set boundaries and stuff, but, be a strong woman and.
Yeah. And I think.
Go for it.
That kind of just goes with your life. I think. Obviously, when he was talking about how he turned his back to the girls at the Shake Shack or whatever.
What was it called? Tulsi Town?
Toblerones?
Tulsi Town. That was a fever dream ad for the ice cream place.
So I think when he turned his back on the girls, like the guy was saying in the video, he was very shy and didn't go after stuff. And it's like, this whole problem that you had was your own fault. Like, sure, like, because we didn't see any bullies. We didn't see any bully flashbacks. We didn't see any, like, everything that
Right,
happened to him.
because this was his idealized
Oh, that's true.
memory, and then it kind of went a little berserk here and there because, he was dying. But, or, he was getting old and he was.
So, yeah, so I think it's like, you've got to to kind of, in a way, for me to make sense of this is not just like some crazy fever dream movie. And then also to not be like, this is a pretentious movie about blah, blah, blah. And there's just too many layers that there shouldn't be. Like, that's just blah, blah, blah with extra steps. Like, to kind of just really like look at it as a human. It's just like, hey, if you want to do something, do it. You might fail at it. You might blah, blah, blah. But, you don't, I think that's the biggest thing. You don't want to look at the end of your life and go, I would, the whole time I was waiting for the perfect moment, and I was waiting for everything to line up and to be like what it is in, those movies where you run into a girl and you drop your papers and she drops her papers and you pick them up, you bump heads, and
They're
then
meet
you blah,
cute.
blah, blah. And it's like, oh, FOX, I'm Fox, all that dumb stuff. But like friendships, relationships, businesses, skills, all that stuff takes work, and you got to put in the work to. So what I'm saying is, I'm Ayn Rand. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The government should not help you in any way. Do your own thing.
I don't think that's the message we're.
No, but I'm saying, like, in your own personal way, you've got to
Be a
make
dreamer.
something happen.
Pick something and go for it.
Right.
If you, I don't know, want to write a book, write a book. You don't have to sell your book. You can just write your book for yourself.
And you can write a crappy book that no one buys. You still wrote a book.
You still did it.
That's better than
a lot of people don't write books. I never wrote a book.
I've been meaning to write a book. The people I think about the most are people who are considered one-hit wonders. I'm like, because they get made fun of so much, and I'm like, do you know how much work it takes to be a one-hit wonder?
Right.
Like, oh, he invented this, and then he never did anything again. Like, I looked up the people who invented Future Splash, which became eventually Adobe Flash. Those guys haven't had any successes like to that level ever again. But they're rich, for one. Yeah. And they also created Flash. Like,
right. You will forever have that.
Right. Yeah. It's like, how many people can go around and say, I created something that dominated the internet for 14 years.
But even more, like, to make it simpler, because you don't have to run, like,
right. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Because I haven't written a book. I'm not chasing any of these giant dreams or whatever.
I think what I'm saying is kind of even playing into that. Like, I always talk about, like, we don't have to do these amazing things or say someone's going to do an amazing thing. Yeah. We can just say, like, I think you're going to do great things, and those great things are like giving water to homeless people. Right.
Like, you can be a janitor and ask the cute girl out, you know what I mean, that you've been afraid of. Or you want to paint.
There's happy janitors out there.
Paint at home. Sure. Yeah, sure. It's a fine career. It's a fine life. Paint at home. I think it's like knowing yourself and finding joy for yourself, and not just like, you know what? If watching movies is your joy, cool. Yeah. But just make sure it's not guiding your life. Like, because there's Prince Charming, that is all you were. Because I feel like that's what this movie was, is like he let his fantasy guide his life rather than actually living his life.
That's interesting too, because he could have been a happy janitor. But because he's tainted by TV, and TV tells you, anytime you have the janitor, you're the murderer janitor, you're the rapey janitor, you're like the janitor.
But it's not usually glamorous.
He's dumb or something like that.
It's never just a celebrated character typically.
So I think kind of like what we talk about, that's stuff that we play into. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm only this. Like I was saying, like, oh, I'm not a rock star. I'm a guy who does work on a product that possible rock star that like Radiohead uses Macs, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, I'm not Radiohead. I'm the support people who end up using the cool stuff. And I could just sit there and be like, oh man. But it's like, I get to do cool things. I get to spend time with you, do this podcast. I got 3 computers for some reason. I'm like, I'm doing fine. I have a one wheel, it's like, why spend the next 20 years being like, I'm a failure? And why for yourself, whoever's listening, being like, oh, I'm a failure because this or that, or even if you didn't do something you planned to do, it's like, you're still alive now.
Yeah.
So you just do your thing.
Yeah.
But I think so like that whole idea of it playing out over the day, and then the end of the day, he's eating the sandwich because that's at night, and he's watching the movie, and then, then obviously the whole manifestation keeps going and getting worse, and I don't know at which point he actually gets in the car. So I guess he's gonna like go home or something like that, and then he just sits in the car.
Because we see Lucy does say, or whatever her name is at that point, when she was left in the car by herself, and she was kind of starting to worry about hypothermia, and she says, well, I guess it's not a bad way to go. So that was kind of his like,
right,
I'm gonna just sit in this truck and let's just sit in this truck,
right,
and that'll be the way I go. And then when we were talking about the did we already talk about the dance sequence? How we thought that was the key to figuring this out?
Yeah.
And it sort of kind of was. It was it was the playing out of his idealized future from when he was younger, the idealized version of how he wanted his life to go, where he meets the girl, they fall in love, they get married, they have a life, but then his brain started tweaking out a little bit and the janitor showed up.
Yeah.
The older janitor showed up and killed the younger happy guy and then stole her away. Which I don't know what that means of where she went. But basically the old janitor came in and like killed the happy.
Well, I think that's just an analogy
brain
of
was
himself sabotaging himself.
Right, yeah.
The other thing that I thought was really cool when we were watching the video, he didn't explicitly say this when he was kind of explaining it, but I can't remember if I also thought this too, to be like, I thought it too. But when she says, I'm looking for my boyfriend, and he's like, what does he look like? And then she goes, it's kind of hard to tell. And it's like that thing I've always said about myself, where at one point I was like in my 20s and I looked at my hand and I was like, holy crap, my hand is huge. And I was like, and I don't remember what my little hand looked like my 10-year-old hand looked like, and so every once in a while I'll look in the mirror and be like, this is who I am. But then also you forget who you are. And
right, because she said that's like expecting me to explain to you what a mosquito looked like that bit me 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So, so he was asking himself to describe his young self to him.
And I've read a couple of articles where, they've talked to older people. Oh yeah, it was one article where they showed old people looking into mirrors, and there was a picture of themselves younger. And one of the guys was like, I don't even know. Like when I look at this person, I'm like, who's this old man looking at me? And so I think it's just kind of like one of those things, like, with that whole conversation of getting older and all that. It's just like, as so many things happen in your life, like you were quoting from the movie, it's just hard to remember, like, and we'll do that.
I was saying to you the other day, I can't remember what my life was like in January. You know what I mean? It's been like, 8 months or whatever, 9 months. And I'm like, I can't remember January.
But like, we think there was something else too that was talking about like, all you take out is just slivers of time in your life, the things that really stuck out. And I don't know if it was you. I've listened to so many podcasts and things, but it's kind of like when we talk about New York or Seattle, because we've been to New York and Seattle multiple times.
And San Francisco.
So we'll start melding together, like in
Oh
the
yeah,
movie.
all the different trips.
We're like, yeah, and then it's like everything. We went, like,
Yeah.
we stayed at the Aquaba Mansion, then we went to Times Square, but then we stayed at Kareem's house, and then we went blah blah blah. We're like, wait, these are different trips, aren't they? Like, I don't know.
I don't know anymore.
I don't know anymore. They're just one trip. So, I think that's very true about the mind. You only have specific things that happen in specific locations, but if especially they're in the same location, those specific things, they all become
Oh, it all runs together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, I like this movie.
I did too.
It was weird.
It was long in the tooth, and that was part of the thing about it. They even called back to themselves.
That was like the whole, what did the kids say? It was meta.
Yeah.
Referencing itself.
You consider that guy a kid?
No. But I didn't really mind that it was so long. Usually I feel it, but I think I was just like so enthralled the whole time of like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of a fun movie. Like if you are listening and you haven't seen the movie, don't feel like we've ruined it. I mean, we did kind of reveal what the whole thing is, but
if you've seen the play Oklahoma, it probably reveals itself pretty early.
But this is also, I feel like this is a movie where knowing the answer is fun to go back and watch it, and it kind of fills in all the, it's maybe kind of like Sixth Sense or something. Like
it's like
something with the reveal at the end. Yeah,
Get Out. When I watched Get Out the second time,
then
I was able to just sit there.
You pick up on all the little cues that you missed the first time.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know that I'll watch it again, but I could see that being a fun way to watch it, knowing for sure what the deal was.
If we were possibly, and we still don't know what we're doing for Christmas, I could try to trick my mom and stepdad into this.
Watching this movie.
We got them to watch Midsummer.
Yeah. And didn't we watch Get Out with them?
Yeah. That was hilarious.
So I found this interesting because the reviewer guy or the explainer guy didn't care for this movie so much. He said he didn't think it was entertaining or whatever. So it makes me think like the tomato ratings on this is 83% from critics, but 47% from like regular audience folk, which totally makes sense because it's a weird movie. And I think sometimes like people just want to sit down and watch like a movie. They don't have to like dissect the whole time and figure out what's going on.
I think part of that, there's a couple of things I think is the problem with people's perception of this movie, not the movie. Because of Insidious and all these type of movies, whenever you see something like this, you think it's going to be a horror movie.
Oh yeah, like so I was expecting the mom to like murder them.
Right, you're ready for like she becomes a demon or something. And
I guess with this movie, you have to know what you're getting into.
Right.
Maybe.
And then if you don't know Charlie Kaufman, that's a problem too, because if this movie was directed, I don't know if did he write it too? Yeah, because he read the book and then. But whatever. If it wasn't a Charlie Kaufman movie, this movie could have been totally different and maybe would have played into more people's hands. But I think with those type of things, with people coming in with this kind of like, oh, I'm about to be scared out of my mind. Like, are you ready? Like, let's get ready to throw popcorn. And then it being a Kaufman movie, it's definitely it's really just for Kaufman-esque type people. And then people are kind of in that kind of world. Like if you liked Interstellar a lot, you'd be like, oh. Yeah,
like people who like these weird, quirky, and twisted movies that may or may not have meaning at the end. Like, what was the movie we watched? Oh, was it The Lobster?
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, what? The what?
We never looked at we got to look. Did we look at the explanation for The Lobster?
I don't think so. I think we just took it for what it was and was like, well, that was a fun trip. And there we go. That's actually, this was a fun trip to watch this movie.
Yeah.
And then try and figure it out. That's part of the fun too, is like working through it and trying to figure out what's going on.
Right. But yeah, I think that's probably the reason why. And if you go with that kind of going in, and the funny thing to me was, I was going to say this earlier, which I think I cut myself off, or you did, or I don't remember, is when this was premiering, I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh yeah. And then it showed up on the Netflix top 10 and then was gone. And I think that's the same thing. Like
Oh, 'cause-
people were like, "Oh, cool," and then they're like, "What the heck is this crap?"
Yeah.
And then also it's about death as well, and it's also about suicide.
Right.
So if you do get that understanding or even that feeling about it, you may have had someone that you know that committed suicide. You may be struggling with suicide. You may and I'm an American, so I don't know how the rest of the world views it, but a lot of Americans, and I said this when we were dating, I liked what was it, Arlington Road, because it ended so left of how it should have. And you were like, I hate that movie. And I'm like, that's the very American thing where it's like it's supposed to end with the hero winning and not being framed for an explosion.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
I've come a long way in my movie watching.
I've pulled you.
I accepted the bad endings more, but I still don't like them every time. I don't think they're necessary every time. And I feel like there's a trend to go
there's the anti-hero and all that.
Right. It has trended in far more movies than I think it should have been.
That's true. So I think that's kind of the things that kind of probably pulled people away from this movie. No one wants to sit there and talk about their own mortality, their mom and dad's mortality. My goodness. Like, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. And we didn't really go into that, but obviously that was him reliving his parents. It wasn't really his fantasy about it, but it was infiltrating his mind at the end. He was remembering those things.
Remembering having to take care of your mom and
give it a watch if you haven't. Do all the things, subscribe, listen,
we just saw movie.com.
Tell people.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends. Tell your friends.
Let's get some listeners.
Tell your friends. We've got listeners.
Okay, let's get some more listeners.
Now I'm the positive one. You're the negative one.
I know we have y'all. We love you guys.
We love you guys. It was funny. James, one of my best friends, known him 20 years now. One of the most consistent relationships besides you that I've had. Don't feel threatened.
I don't. I love James. So a little insight, Josh and James will have like 4-hour conversations.
We will.
And it's adorable.
It's adorbs, as the kids say. So he messaged me the other day quoting something that we said on the podcast, and I was like, what? And then,
I don't.
And then he called. He called and left the message. It's like, it's from your podcast. I was like, oh.
I don't remember anything we say.
So we're thankful for this. But if you got friends who
Spread
like
the
movies or who like weird couples that talk about movies, spread the word. Share it on the socials.
All the things.
Make stickers and put them on police cars.
Sure.
But we didn't tell you to do that.
Nope.
Allegedly. All right. We've talked too long.
All right, guys.
We love you.
Till next time.
With all of our hearts.
All of it.
Throughout eternity and perpetuity, henceforth.
And so on.
Sea Org out.
Okay. Bye.
Get flagged by Scientologists.